Crime is a stain on the fabric of society, an act that disrupts trust, safety, and harmony. Regardless of the motivation behind it, crime inflicts physical, emotional, or psychological harm that often leaves lasting scars on the community. For this reason, crime is never truly forgiven. The consequences reverberate far beyond the moment of offense, reminding us that justice, accountability, and the pursuit of moral order remain essential in maintaining our social structure. This is a true story of a Goan named Francis Arajo, who was hanged years back in Kuwait. Francis Arajo came from Santa Cruz, Calafura village in Goa. He was hanged about 6 months before the 1990 Iraqi invasion of Kuwait. A lot of people are still very curious to know what exactly happened and why a Goan was hanged in Kuwait. It was about 2 years before the Iraqi invasion. Francis Arajo was traveling on a Kuwait public transport KPTC bus, route number 18, a route from Murghab, Kuwait City, to Hawali, 4th Ring Road, Airport Road, Canada Dry, Shuwaik, Sabah hospitals, and up to the UN roundabout. The bus on the fateful day was driven by a Turkish driver, while the conductor was an Egyptian. When Francis Arajo entered the bus, he apparently gave 1 Kuwaiti dinar note to the conductor for his ticket fare. Francis had no change with him. After handing over the ticket, the conductor gave back the balance money in small coins to Francis. While receiving this change, Francis asked the conductor, "Why are you giving me this change in such small coins?" The conductor got annoyed at Francis for this question and told him in Arabic, "Kada au Saturday," meaning take it or get lost. In the ensuing argument, both the persons lost their temper and a heated quarrel broke out. In the subsequent clash, the driver also joined in support of his colleague, and both assaulted Francis and threw him out of the bus. Francis's pride was hurt. Then and there, Francis decided to teach a very good lesson to his unexpected foes. Straight away, he went home, got hold of a sharp kitchen knife, and waited for the bus to return back at the same spot where he was thrown out. He waited for a long time, but there was no sign of that particular bus returning back. So Francis decided to go home as his temper started to cool down, and he was hungry too. But they say anger is a tool the devil uses to trick people into trouble. While Francis was taking a step back to go, he suddenly saw the bus coming at a distance, and his temper rose again. He said to himself, "I will show them now." The driver stopped the bus at the same bus stop, and the moment the bus door opened, Francis jumped on the conductor and stabbed him. The driver came to the rescue of his colleague, but Francis, without any fear, stabbed the driver too. Both the driver and the conductor died bleeding on the spot. Meanwhile, all the passengers of the bus were screaming and ran for their lives, but Francis did not get involved with any of the passengers. Francis took a bold step. Without uttering a single word, he remained seated on one of the seats of the bus, in surrender to whoever wanted to arrest him. Otherwise also, Kuwait has tight border controls and immigration checks, making it difficult for anyone to escape the country without getting caught. There are only 2 border crossings for Kuwait, one going to Iraq in the north and the other to Saudi Arabia in the south, while approximately 40% of Kuwait's border is sea. Kuwait, in those days, had only one airport terminal to fly out. While escaping after committing a crime like murder in Kuwait may seem like an option, it is extremely risky and likely to lead to even harsher penalties. Attempting to flee the country only increases the chances of being apprehended and facing more serious consequences. Perhaps Francis Arajo thought if he surrendered, he could escape death. Meanwhile, news broke out to the police immediately, and they came fast and arrested Francis, handcuffed him, and took him to their custody. Francis surrendered without any resistance. Francis's mother, sister, and brother Daniel, and Daniel's wife were all working as domestic helps in Kuwaiti houses. They came to know of the tragic news only after a week, when Francis's sister-in-law first got the news and immediately passed it on to the family. When Daniel received the news over the telephone, in his own words, Daniel said it looked to him that a sharp stone was hit on his head, and for a few seconds he remained breathless and speechless. And when Francis's mother and sister heard the news, they were all in shock. When Francis's brother Daniel's Kuwaiti madam came to know about the murder, she immediately sacked Daniel from his job and deported him on the same night to Goa. However, when the madam's son heard of Daniel's sacking and deportation by his mother, he was upset at the decision. He said, if Daniel's brother committed the crime, then Daniel is not to be blamed, and sacking him was a wrong decision. Fortunately, within a few days, Daniel was brought back by the madam's son in a company where the son worked as a top executive. After returning back to Kuwait, Daniel, while working, borrowed some money from here and there and hired a lawyer to fight the case for his brother. However, with the strict law of Kuwait, justice prevailed, as the legal system diligently upheld the rule of law, confirming that Francis was accountable to the premeditated murders according to the country's rigorous decree. Kuwait is very strict against crime, particularly murder, rape, and drugs. The legal process may lead to life imprisonment or the death penalty, depending on the circumstances of the crime. Francis was sentenced to death by hanging. The Goan community was shocked, and Francis's brother Daniel was shattered. He approached the Indian embassy to file a mercy petition, but according to him, the embassy told him to apply through any of the registered Goan organizations. Goans at that time did not have any apex body to fight such a cause. That time only one Goan association was recognized with the embassy. It was named Kuwait Goan Association, which was involved mainly in organizing ballroom dances. It was not a representative of Goan causes in Kuwait. Being in a helpless situation, Daniel finally approached the Kuwait Roman Catholic Church to help file a mercy petition. Kuwait bishop at that time, Monsieur Francis George Micallef, was very sympathetic to Daniel's plea. Bishop Micallef and other priests were very cooperative to Daniel. When the bishop went to see Francis in jail, he took along Francis's brother Daniel and his mother. The Kuwaiti employees of Francis's mother, sister and sister-in-law were very cooperative too and provided them all help whenever required to go see Francis in prison. However, regarding his mercy or release, nothing worked out. Everyone failed and Francis was set a date to be hanged. His execution took place in early 1990, making it one of the last known executions in Kuwait before the Iraqi invasion. Father Pinto, a Mangalorean parish priest present during the hanging, was allowed to hear the last confession of Francis and perform the last sacrament on Francis's body. Father Pinto was the last person Francis saw and spoke. When Father Pinto went to see Francis a few minutes before he was hanged, Francis said in a normal tone, "Hello, Father, tu ailo? Hello, Father, have you come?" According to Father Pinto, contrary to normal happenings, Francis did not show any resistance to the security personnel or the hangman who led him to the gallows. He fully cooperated with the security system and showed all coolness and courage, which, according to Father Pinto, came only through spiritual aspects and divine powers. Everyone was praying very hard for Francis so that God could give him courage to face the gallows. Francis too prayed very hard in prison. Our bishop and other priests prayed too for Francis to overcome fear and face the gallows boldly. On the fateful day, Francis was hanged and he was pronounced dead within 3 minutes. The date and timing of the funeral was fixed. The body was packed in a coffin, but not allowed to be opened in the church nor in the cemetery. The church was filled to capacity. There was total sadness among Goans on that day in the church. Local press was present, and next day, the Arab Times, Kuwait's local daily, brought the news of the hanging, headline in its front page. Francis's sister was wailing and tried to rush to the coffin to open it in defiance of instructions. She was heard screaming loudly. Other members of Francis's family, mother, brother, and sister-in-law, were also crying. Many others who came for the funeral were sobbing and crying bitterly. Father Dominic Santa Maria, who is still serving at the Holy Family Cathedral in Kuwait City, was present at the church that time in 1990. The law of Kuwait is such: there is absolutely no forgiveness or mercy granted in the cases of murder, as the gravity of taking another person's life demands full extent of justice to be served without exceptions or compassion. This is indeed a sad story, but a lesson for many. It all happened because of anger and the rush of blood, which everyone must control. And to have this control over anger, we must pray and pray. Anger is a natural and powerful emotion that everyone experiences at some point in their life. It can arise from various triggers. Understanding how our body reacts to anger and learning how to manage these physical sensations can help us control our emotions more effectively and avoid heinous crimes or consequences. May God forgive Francis Arajo and his victims. May God grant their souls eternal peace.